I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Ballara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you. Hi everyone, I'm Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Anthony Morolda. Anthony is the co-host of the Building Med podcast. He's also a personal trainer, and he has worked in the fitness and nutrition industry for quite some time. Anthony, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time.
I'm happy to be here, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us a bit about yourself, give us your background, and then we'll kind of take it from there and see where the road leads us.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm the co-host of the Building Men podcast. So I'm 14 years younger than my brother. So I'm the baby in my family, youngest of four. And so, growing up, I was kind of in the shadow of my brother all the time. So with sports, with everything, Dennis already did it and did more than that. So I had to kind of outperform him all the time, doing whatever I could. So in high school, I played, I played basketball, baseball, and football. And then college, I ended up playing football. On my way to playing college football, I ended up breaking my leg. So I don't know if you saw, there was a Louisville game where one of the players snapped his leg and he broke his tibia and fibula, and his bone almost was sticking out through his leg.
Okay,
That happened to me. Yeah, I mean, it's gruesome, but I didn't do it in a, championship game playing college basketball. I did it slipping on ice, going to run to pet my friend's dog. I ended up slipping on the ice, and then my foot caught ground and I rolled over my leg and just snapped it right there. And it was very similar, bone through. I was, and that's kind of a pivotal moment for me, because I had a choice to make, either like, okay, I wasn't going to go play college football, or I was going to work harder than anybody else out there in order to play college football after that. I didn't get any scholarships, nothing like that. I was just going to walk on, but this just threw a wrench into my whole story. So I rehabbed it, and I ended up walking on, making the team. I ended up playing for 3 years, just at a D3 school. But that's kind of what got me into the fitness and health world, because I realized that I could heal myself, that if I worked hard enough, that I, looked at the things that I was doing, how I was moving, I was able to heal myself. So then I ended up, spending the time. And after that, now it's been like 11, 12 years that I've been working in, from different gyms, strength and conditioning coaches. I've worked with people on nutrition all over different gyms throughout New Jersey and things like that. But that kind of like started my journey, was that moment right there when I was like, oh, this is something I want to do.
Yeah, so sure. No, I mean, I think it makes sense. I think a lot of times people you have a kind of big event like that can certainly impact your life, and you either do good with it, or you sort of go the opposite direction and let it ruin you. So there's I think it's always great to hear kind of people choosing the better path for themselves. As you kind of dove into athletics and training, how did that evolution look for you? What did you kind of, I know you sort of healed yourself from this big injury, but I guess what did you do? How did you do that?
Well, I did some intense physical therapy. I was bedridden for like 2 months, and then I was in a wheelchair for 4 months after that. And it's funny because when I was 18, my parents moved to a 55 and older community, right? And I moved along with them because I ended up going to community college. So I was so upset because we had this awesome place, and I grew up there. I lived there my whole life, and then we go to this 55 and older community, and there's like handlebars all over the bathrooms, and there's like, a chair that brings you up the steps, and I'm like, where the hell am I? It's like our neighbors are dying left and right. Everyone's over 80. And sure enough, I ended up utilizing all of the amenities that we had in the house because I was in because I broke my leg. So, but yeah, I did some intense physical therapy and I worked on myself there, but I started to ask a lot of questions, right? So with my physical therapist, I was like, why are you doing that? How does that make like the only thing that I've known is like, bench press as much as you can and deadlift as much as you can, and that's
Right.
about it. I had no idea that there was this whole other aspect of like healing yourself, recovering from injury, the mobility part of it. Like I just didn't get it. And then I was like, this is really interesting. So I started to listen to a bunch of podcasts and I really dove into that whole fitness part of it. And that's when I started to take classes in college because I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. So I would, I took your basic courses and but it was really when I started doing it myself and helping others that I started to kind of realize that I had a passion for this because I could talk to people and I could understand them on a different level, and that it was more than just the workout itself, but the emotion that it elicited when they left the gym, how confident they felt. And that was kind of the point where I started to realize that when I started to work with others. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I have. I've always. I love athletics. I've always played sports. As long as I can remember. I did track in college. I never actually played football. I love football, but I never actually played uh, at a competitive level. But it's funny you mentioned just try to bench press as much as you can. Just try to do. I was actually like yesterday, just at the gym, and with my trainer, he was talking to some of the other trainers, and they were talking about how that used to be what you did. And it was like, and I was like, yeah, my track practice when I was in high school was just, hey, this guy can run and jump, go keep running and jumping. And it was like there was none of the mobility, there was none of that. And it's like now it's many years later, I feel like I'm almost kind of like rebuilding from the
oh,
damage that was done with the sort of the poor training ways that like I had a few years ago, like no flexibility, my knees hurt, like all of this stuff. And so it's kind of a funny thing to think about what, I guess, the perspective of training and stuff like that some people think versus what actually goes into it, what act like really what fitness professionals like yourself, what you actually know, and what you can how you can help people, how you can help people with their comfort and their just their overall health, physical and mental, by
yeah.
actually sort of training them. So yeah, I it's
It
just
it it's funny you mentioned that because like I there would always, when I was working with people, they would come in, they were like, I've never worked out before. I'm very self-conscious. I don't like the gym. Like they told me that they wanted to start working out before they got with a personal trainer or they got with the strength and conditioning coach. They wanted to get something going so they had some sort of foundation. And I'm like, I would rather you come in and have done absolutely nothing versus these kids who thought they were doing the right thing and I have to undo
yeah,
everything that they've done because, all they've been doing is this workouts that have just been putting them in terrible positions and, putting their shoulders and their posture all in these places that aren't going to benefit them later on. And now what I have to do is I have to start them even further back to even get them to a point that we could start putting on muscle or strength because I gotta unlearn all these poor movement patterns that they've learned in high school and in college and trying to, have an ego competition with somebody and outbench them and do this and then it starts to catch up to you. So I'd much rather have someone who's never touched a weight before in their entire life because that's more I could work with that. That's a lot easier. And I'm like, cool, then the only thing is going to be linear progression for at least the first 6 months to a year, the fact that you've never done anything.
yeah, you basically have to untrain them. And that's, I mean, that's really, I had been working out my whole life, but I never had for the good example is squats, right? I wanted to do more weight. So it was like I just keep doing more weight, and what I didn't notice is my squats were getting less and less deep. And so then it was like when I had a trainer that was like, you need to go deeper with that. It was like my knees couldn't take it. So I had to go way back, pull everything back, start, with what felt like humbling amounts of weight, and then, work way back, but with the depth. And it's you're right. It's like untraining bad habits is harder than, kind of starting from scratch. And it's like the concept, and I mean, I'm sure I've done it too, but like the concept of I want to know something before I get the trainer to help me know that thing. If you think about it, it doesn't really make sense, right? It's
Right.
like why would you, you know that's what the trainer's for, right? Like
Yeah.
in anything, it's like, why would you start by getting a little bit into it and then try and get someone to help you? So it's kind of, I think it's just a different mindset. And I'm sure, and, on the topic of mindset, I'm sure that's a big thing that you work with your clients and things like that, just on, um, you know the I can or I can't
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the biggest things. Is, again, it's such a so it it took me a while to kind of understand and be very compassionate and empathetic with my clients, right? Because all my life I've been in shape for the most part. I've been an athlete. I've been able to do all these things physically, that some people can't do, right? So I never really, it was hard for me to get on their level and kind of understand, because someone who's never been in the gym, that could be the most intimidating place that they've ever been. All of their insecurities are coming to the forefront. In their eyes, every single person is staring at them and judging them and looking at them. And why are you doing that? That's wrong. That's this. And looking at their body and looking at how they move. And that's scary. And so what I started to do was kind of put myself in situations that I feel insecure and being like, so imagine going there and someone just like, just do it. Like, oh, just go and do this. Just go and, I have trouble speaking in public. That's always been an issue for me. So it would be like me going up to, or someone coming up to me and being like, just go and speak in front of 1,000 people. Just go do it.
Right.
You just got to do it, right? You just got to do it. Just get out there and do it. It's like, no, no, I don't want to do that. I feel terrible when I do that. So what my one I worked for one gym, and what we used to do was a very small gym. It was like maybe 5 people who were involved in it. And what we used to do is we would have something called a crucible. And so we would have all the coaches go through this like soul searching workout. And there was no rhyme or reason for doing this workout. It was literally to make you break, to push you to your breaking point, to the point that you felt like you had nothing else to give. And it was all relative to this person, right? It wasn't just some generic thing. It was based off of your lifts, and we would build up to it. But I didn't know what it was. They wouldn't tell me. And all they did was, when I started there, they had a countdown for like 2 months of the crucible time, and they would just have that up, and I knew when I had to do it.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is, and the reason why they did this is so that I could feel what it feels like to be my client, to feel like I'm weak, to feel like I'm vulnerable, to feel like I can't do it, but I still do it. And I still push myself. And that's how they feel with it, whatever, right? 5 push-ups for someone could be similar to someone else's 350-pound bench, whatever. And so I have to be able to understand that. And so that was the point of doing that crucible, and that changed my perspective completely. And now I don't look at people like, I try and put myself in their shoes and create that atmosphere that they feel comfortable. And once they trust me, that's when it's like, all right, now we can tackle this. Now we could start
Yeah.
getting after the reasons why you're here and things to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because I joke about this all the time. Like, it's it's not really supposed to get easy, right? Like, it's like people, you go into the gym and you're like, I think you may become, when you're starting out, you're thinking, okay, I just got to get to this point where it'll be easier, I'll be able to do these things. And it's like, well, if you get to that point where it's easy, then you push a little bit more. And it's kind of, so having a trainer for me, that's like the probably the main reason, because it's like that, kind of pushing up another level, the accountability, all of that stuff, that it's like, I know if I have this appointment, I'm going, and
Right.
he's gonna make it hard. Like it's like you said, the crucible thing. It's like I feel like that's every workout, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I know that I'm making progress, I'm stronger, and all of that. But it's like I think it's fitness is I don't know, like it's a journey that doesn't end, right? Because it's like as soon as you stop, it all goes away. It's like
Yeah.
it take you years and years of staying in shape, and you take a month off, and it's like you might as well start all over. It's kind of like that. It's just a constant maintenance thing, and so I think it's thinking about it a little bit differently. And you're right, yeah. Like I I think I used to, I don't know if it was judgment or what, but like you see someone who they're in the gym or they're outside running or whatever, and you're like, clearly it looks like it's a struggle for them. Now I'm like, now I just want to cheer them. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah,
want to
you
like
want to
go
be
and
their
be like,
supporter.
awesome. You're just the fact that you're doing it is
Let's
awesome.
go.
Like, come on, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's a really good point in just like shifting that toward, because you're 100% right. There's other things. It's like I feel, and it's funny because like I go to the gym, and at my gym there's a lot of like bodybuilders, like guys that do competition is
Mhm.
in terms of um weightlifting and stuff like that, and that's not what I'm trying to do. That's So I look at them, and they're like doing these huge lifts, like they're squatting some ridiculous amount of weight, and I'm like doing my workout and feeling like, oh man, they're so much stronger. So it's like there's always someone that's going to be a better shape than you, stronger than you, whatever it is. And so it's like it's only a competition with yourself. If anything, it's like you're trying to improve yourself. And so I think I love it because I get a lot out of it, in terms of, like I said, physical and mental health. But I also think it's just, the more I think about it, it's really good kind of metaphor for life, and like all of the other experiences that you might go through. It's like, yeah, I also don't like public speaking, but like I have had to do it for my job. And so it's like I know that 10 years ago to where I am now, in terms of it's better, right? It's
Yeah.
just better. So it's just like it's just a journey. So I think I think it's very cool, um just that connection to kind of really anything else in life is worth.
Yeah, that's why I love it. I can relate this to almost anything. I mean, that's why I use this as an outlet for other things in life. And it, like you said, I think it's you versus you the day before. So how can you get better, um, from the last workout to this workout? And it doesn't, because you're not going to be as strong as you were 15 years ago, right? You're
Mhm.
just not. So if your main goal is strength, you can get progressively stronger, but at some point that's going to deteriorate. So that what I always want to do is peel back the layers, right? Figure out why they're there in the first place. Why do you want to be strong? If I ask someone that, usually they only think about the strength portion of it. Okay, so what's that number, right? What, like, we can't just keep adding 5 pounds onto it. You'll be the strongest person in 6 months in the history of the world, and I highly doubt that's going to happen. So you start to figure out, like, okay, what are these barriers that this is going to break for you when you start getting strong in the gym? And usually, I'll see it a lot of times with, it's confidence, right? It's like, if I want to feel powerful, I want to feel empowered to do something that I didn't think I could do, and strength is going to give me that. Strength is going to give me the ability to speak to my husband or wife or partner, whatever, and tell them how I feel about this relationship. Strength is going to give me the power to be the best father I can possibly be. Strength is going to allow me to be there for my friends and be able to stand with integrity. And, it can relate to everything else, but you need to look at the reasons why you're doing it. Because, like, I'm not as strong. I did a powerlifting meet, and I'm I'm lifting like 150 pounds less than I used to lift before. I'm not that old, but I can't lift what I did before, and I know that. And I realized that that's not my intention. My intention is not be strong. And that was all I cared about. It's like, I just want to put more weight on the bar. I don't give a crap about anything else. Now it's about feeling good. I want to be able to move the next day and not have pain in my knees or back that I used to have all the time. That's way more important to me. I want to be able to show up in every situation and feel good and feel like my body is physically capable to do whatever task comes my way, not just me picking up some heavy crap that's on the floor. So it comes back to intention and the real reason why you're there, why this is important to you.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point, because I think that it's, I think a lot of people that do work out, you know, you go to it's a lot of times you get in that number, right? You're like I'm trying to bench press this much, I'm trying to squat this much. I remember in high school there was a thing on the wall, and it was like, if you got to these certain numbers in like the four main lifts, then you actually, your name, like they would put your name up on the wall and stuff like that. And I was like, in high school, I was like, I was like, there's no chance I'll ever get there, right? And so and I didn't. But the funny thing is I can now. So it's just a matter of, but now that's not what I want.
Right.
To me, what really kind of, and it changes over time, I think, what your goal is, but it's like, to me, what really drove me and what kind of changed, that's why I mentioned the squats, is when my son was born, it was hard for me to get on the floor and play with him. Like my knees hurt that bad that it was hard for me to get on the floor and play with him. And so that was really the point where it was like, okay, we need to like back it all up, figure out why that's happening, and like rebuild from there. And then sure, you get strong again along the way, great. But like, I also realized that I made a fairly significant breakthrough in terms of strength when I stopped actually looking at what the number was on the bar. Like it was like, I remember it was like, it was a day, it was like, I didn't think about what it was. My trainer like put more weight on. I did it. He put more weight on. I did it. I didn't. He put it on in weird, like,
So like the 2.5s, couple
right. It
cookies
was
on
just
there,
like a
and
sorted, right. It was like a sorted, it was like, here's a 25, now a 10. Now it wasn't just like put on another plate, put on another plate. And I was like, I didn't do the math. I couldn't, I was like, I would have had to stop and figure out what it was. And then it was like, get to the end of that workout, and he was like, oh, you just PR'd on your squat. And I was like, what even was that, right? Like I didn't even know.
Yeah.
And so it was like, at that moment, I stopped. I don't ask, I don't try to figure out how much weight it is. Sometimes I'll ask him afterwards, like, what was that? But I know that has gotten more.
Yeah.
And but more importantly, I also know that I'm like you said, like comfortable. I can play with my kids. I don't have to, there's nothing. So it's like in now, you know, in high school, it's like, here are these numbers on the wall. Now it's like functionality, right? Like I'm about to be 47. Like it's functionality that I'm really looking for. Like I want to be able to play with my kids. I still like to play soccer. I like to be active, but I want to, I don't want to hurt so much. And
Yeah.
so it's just kind of, you know, doing things. It's like, I don't think I stretched at like through all of high school and college athletics. Like I'm sure there were stretching sessions, but like I didn't.
I would do a couple of these. I go like
Right,
this, and then
it's
I
like,
throw as much weight on as possible.
yeah, it was like, there was no warm up. There was no,
No.
it's like, how do you warm up for the soccer game? By playing soccer. Like it was just like, there was no. And so, you know, that stuff you learn, and I think it's good to apply it earlier in life too. I think it will help you. But yeah, I think it really does just kind of come down to what are you trying to get out of it? Like
Yeah.
and I think it's, you know, again, another sort of metaphor of life. Like what are you trying to get out of whatever you're doing? Like what's the reason behind what you're doing? Which is probably a really good segue into sort of the questions component of this podcast. And the name of the podcast is Know Your Why. And so I always ask every guest, what is your why? So what is your why, Anthony? And I think we just kind of went through a really good discussion on, you can apply that question to almost almost anything in your life. Like, what is your why? Why are you going to the gym? What, what are you trying to achieve? So, but overall, sort of bigger picture, what is your why in terms of, uh, you know, looking towards success and things like that?
I would say it's to kind of, well, for me, at least with helping clients, it's to help them gain their power back to be able to take control of their life through fitness and diet, through what they're consuming and how they're moving. Um, and then, for myself, it's very similar, like knowing that I have the power within me to take control of my life. Once we feel like we don't have control and it's out of our hands, that's when we sort of given up and we feel like we're the victims in all of this. So what I want to do, because again, and I hate to say trainer, because I feel like that's like a dog trainer and I'm just like, scolding people to do what they want to do. But,
Yeah.
but like as a coach, as a strength coach, I I can't do anything for you. You need to do it for yourself, and I need to get you to do it for yourself. So I come up with means in order for you to do it. I'm not a doctor. I can't go in there and, work on a specific part of you or cut you open or do this. You need to do it. So somehow in hell, I need to get you to work out and do, let's just say like 50 burpees, whatever the thing is. Like, I need to get you to do that intentionally for your, that's insane, right? But somehow I have you to see the value in that. And once people understand that, and then they realize that they have control over themselves, they have the power within them to do it, man, apply that to anything in life, whatever the hell you want, just go at the job you're trying to go for, at the person you're trying to be, at the relationships you want. That is where it stems from. And to me, that's the easiest way to elicit that response. I can get it like that. You understanding the power that you have within you when you did something you didn't think you could do before. And that's why it's so important to me.
Yeah, so that's cool. I think it's really true. I guess fitness and everything's not all about weight loss, but for some people that is their at least initial motivating factor. And you see kind of some of those stories about people losing tremendous amounts of weight, 100 pounds or what, and I'm like, if you can do that, like I don't, like, truly, like, you can do anything, because that takes a tremendous amount of long-term discipline and like lifestyle change. Like I think it's way easier to stay in shape than to get in shape if you're out. Like, I
To
think, and
start, yeah.
it's like this, just, yeah, that's actually perfectly it, just to start, right? It's like, if it's not a part of what you do and what the start is just, and so, yeah, I think that, yeah, the fitness coaches and things like that, just the motivation that people, that you give to people, and let them realize what that power and strength within is really very cool.
Yeah.
um
Yeah, that and the it starts with the belief of it, right? Like, that's the biggest thing that I see with the people that I work with. And I just did a post about this the other day, but it was, you can't just, the whole saying fake it until you make it, that's not useful, right? Because you think you're being someone else to be that. You're a fraud, you're an imposter. So when people are like, I want to lose 50 pounds, if they don't see themselves as that 50-pound, less weight than they are now, then they're never going to be it, because that seems like they're trying to be somebody else. And so what I tell people to do is like, okay, how does this person act who's 50 pounds less than you are right now? How do they move? How do they talk to people? How do they present themselves? What would they look like? How would they dress? What would they drink? What would they eat? Cool. Now do that today. Start,
yeah,
because you can do that, right? I don't need you to be 50 pounds less to start talking to people differently, to start eating these different foods that this person would eat. You don't need to be that. They use the weight loss as the thing that's going to get them there, but 9 times out of 10, it's not that. It's the person they're going to be after that. So I need you to start acting like that right now, and then I guarantee that 50 pounds is going to come off a lot less, and it'll stay off. And that's the most important thing.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It truly is just sort of changing your mindset, changing who you're who you want to be, kind of on the inside, as much as anything. Um, that's cool. Yeah. So second question, just tell us something about yourself that maybe isn't common knowledge. We obviously know you're an athlete, so something that maybe might be unexpected, some other skill or hobby or anything you want to share.
Let me think. I love to paint and draw.
Oh,
I
cool.
was actually going to go to school for that, but I was like, what am I going to do with this? My dad was like, that's a stupid major. So, yeah, I love painting. I love drawing. I do it whenever I can. I don't do it as much as I would like to, but every once in a while, I start going and I'll find the problem with me is I'm such a perfectionist that like the joy of painting and drawing is you can express yourself, right? So
Right.
you could just sort of be free. What I'll do, I take it on the whole other end. I'll find something and this thing needs to be perfect. So I have about 60 unfinished projects upstairs because I'm like, that doesn't look right. That's not good. Screw it. And then I'll throw it to the side and not finish it. Um, and then another thing is probably just how, you know, I think the reason why I'm good at what I do is because I am very insecure, is that I've struggled with anxiety and depression my whole life, and that, I've been in and out of therapy offices and on and off different medications and struggled with addiction. And I'm not this like people sometimes see the end result and don't see how I got to where I am right now. And not that I'm anywhere important or anything, but it's just the fact that they like look at me, and if I have something they don't have, they assume I have everything. If I have a body they want, then that means, oh, he must be perfect in all other areas,
Yeah.
and that's the farthest thing from the truth. And so, I've struggled with all these things, and it allowed me to be a better coach and a better human being and be able to relate to more people and understand them. So, those are kind of two things that some people don't know about me, or that's a little different than what they see on the outside. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's just, you don't know just look at a person, right? Or you meet them briefly. You don't know what they're going through, kind of, or even what they have gone through. Maybe they've gotten past something, and you know, that's why that's why you're in such good shape, and why, you feel that that provides a level of of control of your life by saying, okay, I can do these things with my body, or whatever it is. So I think that's an important point, is this, that we really probably don't know what most people are
yeah, and then we're
going through it.
judging them. Yeah.
Right. It's like just Gary V talks about it all the time, like just compassion and being sort of empathetic to other people's plight, because you don't know what they're going through. And they may look they may look great, and there's a lot of struggle behind the scenes. They may look terrible at that moment, but that might just be a moment in time that they're going through a tough spot. So it's kind of a great point in terms of just stepping back and
Yeah, and listening to people, right? And
right.
like being there for them, because I don't think we do that enough. I think a lot of times we just wait for our turn to talk. And, one thing that I've learned being a coach is that when you listen, you could learn so much. And if you really go in there to truly understand someone, I don't care if they think completely opposite than I do. I can learn something from that conversation.
Yeah.
And when I do that, more people will want to listen to me, right? Because I
Mhm.
listen to them. But rather than going in there and like I need to say something, like it never
Yeah.
never goes well. It never comes
Yeah.
across as what you want it to.
Yeah. You're a problem solver, right? You're like someone's coming to you. We think of it as people go to a fitness coach because they want to be strong. Like that's what a lot of people, I want to lift more weight or whatever. But it's realistically, that's probably not, like, I think the people that just want to lift more weight just go lift more weight. They kind of just do it on
Yeah.
their own. When you go to the coach, it's because you actually want something else out of it. So and it's a similar kind of, again, there's just so many connections between that and sort of the rest of life. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah.
um so if people want to reach out to you, tell us how we can kind of get in touch. I know you've got the Building Men podcast and Instagram. Is that kind of the best way, or what do you
Yeah,
think?
so there's a few ways. Like you could reach me at building.men is the Instagram handle. My personal one is at Coach Anthony Morolda. And then we have our website, buildingmen.io. And yeah, and then I think it's buildingmencoach at gmail.com is my email. But yeah, the best way to usually reach me is through Instagram. So at Coach
Okay.
Anthony Moralda or at building.men.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, Anthony, final question for you today is what piece of advice would you give to someone who's, kind of maybe in a tough spot like you were when you had broken your leg or something like that, one of those low points? What would you tell them in terms of trying to get through it and come out the other side in a good shape? And I don't necessarily mean that in good physical shape, but just
Right, just in
good
good shape.
shape,
Yeah.
in however whatever capacity that means.
Oh, I could go so many different ways with this. I feel like the main thing is to know that there's a reason why this has happened to you. This didn't happen by accident, right? I'm a very spiritual person, and I believe that everything happens for a specific reason, even though sometimes it sounds a little hippy dippy. But what is the lesson within this that's happening that you can take? Because if you just sit there and say, why me? I can't believe this happened, then you're going to feel worse and worse and worse versus look at it. It might be hard, but look at what lesson you can gain out of this. Maybe the fact that I broke my leg and I was bedridden, I learned to appreciate the fact that I was in a 55 and older community and I had time to read and I had time to focus and look inward. I would have never done that otherwise, and I got stronger than I ever have. So take the time to look at the lessons that are given to you within this, quote unquote bad situation that you're in currently.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. It's uh it just goes back to sort of making the best out of any situation, and if it's even a negative situation, trying to make the best out of it that you can, and trying to avoid that sort of victim mentality of that everything happens to me, and what's the point of trying to what's
Yeah.
the point of trying to push back on it? So no, I think that's great, is thinking about it, that there, even if you I think even if you don't necessarily have kind of that, I don't know, spiritual mentality of everything happens for a reason, or I have a very good friend he always talks about karma and stuff like that. But even if you could almost flip it around, like make a reason.
Yeah.
Right? Like if maybe maybe the reason wasn't known before, so figure out the reason. What am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with this event to turn it into something positive? And so
Just open up your eyes to something completely different that you would have never ever looked at unless this thing happened.
right.
And that happens all the time, but we're never listening and we're never looking and we're never trying to understand this. We're just playing the victim card, and everything's happening to me. It's not happening for me. And that mentality, that fixed mindset that we have, is the thing that usually doesn't allow us to grow and reach not our fullest potential, but the person that we get, our higher self, let's say.
Yeah. It's just if it's always happening to you, then you're not in control, right? So and maybe that kind of ties it all into the fitness and everything like that, and just building that inner strength, in that you use it, take control of your life. You can't control everything in life, but you can control how you react to it. So you can just use these things as a stepping stone for your next positive transformation.
Yeah, respond versus react. You
Yeah.
can always choose how you respond.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, this is great. Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate your time and sort of everything you've shared with us today. So thank you very much, Anthony.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. This is awesome. I really had a good time.
All right. Well, have a good day, everyone. We'll go ahead and sign off here.
I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Ballara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you.